Hello there, my name is Pavor Stelmo and now we'll unveil the top news of recent days. The European Commission officially recommended the start of negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the EU. According to the procedure, accession negotiations are the penultimate stage on the way to joining the European Union. The decision of the European Commission is a historical event, a significant milestone of the path of European integration of Ukraine. After receiving the status of a candidate for EU membership, Ukraine needed 1.5 years of reforms to achieve this result. Ukraine has successfully implemented all 7 EU recommendations in the areas of judicial reforms, fight against corruption, anti-oligarchic legislation, media, advertising and protection of national minorities, which were a prerequisite for the start of negotiations. The recommendation of the European Commission means that the myth of the most corrupt country and the slowdown of reforms has been dispelled. It is a symbolic event that Ukraine achieved such a result 10 years after the beginning of the Maidan protests, which were held under the flags of a united Europe and with the demand to sign the association agreement with the European Union.
Наш народ заслуговує.
Our people deserve to be in the European Union, together with all the free peoples of our Europe, and we are doing everything for this. I am convinced that there is no alternative to the borders of a democratic Europe matching the borders of the European Union. After all, this is political protection for our common values, economic security, and most importantly, one of the key guarantees of peace and freedom on the continent.
Despite Russian aggression and the permanent information war, Ukraine is confidently advancing on the path of reforms and democratic transformation. Ukraine has become the locomotive of European integration for the entire region. Moldova also received a recommendation to start negotiations on joining the EU, and Georgia received the status of a candidate country for membership in recommendation. Ukraine is waiting for the start of official accession negotiations already during the EU summit in December 2023. Ukraine needs Europe, and Europe needs us. Russia strikes civilians again, now on the ship. Russians struck a Liberian-flagged cargo ship moored in the port of Odesa region. After the anti-radar Ha-31 missile hit, skipper died. The crew members, citizens of Philippines and Ukraine, were injured. Russia deliberately attacked a civilian foreign ship that had nothing to do with the defense forces of Ukraine.
The peculiarity is precisely that it is an anti-radar missile. It was directed on the coast, probably with the aim of destroying or detecting air defense facilities. At that moment, the ship entered the port, and based on the characteristics of the missile, the hit happened. The ship's radar station attracted this danger. Natalia Humenyuk, head of the Joint Coordinating Press Center of the Defense Forces of the South of Ukraine, on the air of the Ukrainian National Telethon.
The purpose of the Russian terrorist attack is to block the operation of Ukrainian ports and stop the movement of merchant ships through the temporary sea corridor. This is another audacious attempt by Moscow on global food security. An adequate reaction of the international community should be strengthening the cover of the sea corridor and Ukrainian ports by means of air defense. According to the norms of international maritime law, the actions of the Russian Federation qualify as maritime piracy and deserve new sanctions from the international community. Insurance compensation provided for by the agreements will be promptly provided to the injured. Russia blatantly ignores the established norms of civilized coexistence of countries, but appeals to international law and justice as soon as it can benefit from it. Russia seeks greatness, demands greater recognition and exclusive rights. At the same time, it accuses the West of hegemony. By launching hybrid wars, Moscow presents itself as a victim of aggression.
Who says Russia is interested in negotiations, diplomatic settlements, and other talks about peace? Russia, in fact, is only interested in its own non-defeat in the war, mandatory retention of part of the occupied territories, impunity for war crimes, preservation for its reputation as a key lawless among specific countries, and most importantly, mandatory surrender of Ukraine, which can look differently: unfavorable ultimata, a protected war, or a deep internal political crisis. Don't have any illusions about Russia. Peace for them is only an operational path to carry out militaristic propaganda modernization and continue systematic destruction of democracies. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine on social network X, formerly Twitter.
Everything happening worldwide today. conflicts, escalations, aggressive protests, riots is a direct consequence of years of incorrect assessment of growing risks and unpreparedness to make responsible decisions, citing the importance of finding mythical compromises with those who initiate the violation of rules. Of course, any ill-considered compromise is perceived by the aggressor as a display of weakness on the part of the victim and encourages the aggressor to further escalate and be lawless, and it provokes it into more aggressive behavior, and conversely significantly demoralizes the side of justice. Compromises made under pressure are, among other sins, always postponed decisions that will still need to be made, but under much worse initial conditions. So attempting to find a compromise with Russia today without the willingness to realize that Russia is the key stakeholder of global instability and the main contributor to this instability itself will inevitably lead to even greater warfare, increased tension, and a sharp rise in aggression in many regions. By attacking others, it declares its defense. Russia hides under the guise of a fighter against colonialism. However, it seeks hegemony in the countries of the global south, demonstrates its imperial neocolonialism in Ukraine. The Kremlin has eradicated freedom of speech in Russia, and the propaganda machine financed by it uses the right to freedom of thought and expression, inviolable in other countries, to impose its own destructive narrative. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching and stay updated. Subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support is that really matters. Goodbye.